with another episode on the Unshakeable podcast with myself, Kenny. We got Nick. We got Guy in the building. We got the whole gang here. We kicking off the new year right, baby. Clap it up, baby. Clap it up. We kicking off the new year right for everybody. Listen, guys, this episode is brought to you by Nobody's Coming to Save You How to Lead Through a Storm. For those that need to get through those storms in your life, you need some inspiration to start the new year, go ahead and make sure you click the link below, comment, like, all that good stuff. Make sure you get that book in your system this year. Yo, Nick, Guy, how was your new year?
What up? We here. You know
we here. We made it another year. Praise God.
We good, yeah.
Made it another year. Made it another year. How was your New Year's?
Hey, man, great, man. Living free in 2023.
I could dig it. I could dig it. Bars. Got the bars.
Listen, somebody said it's the year to Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you got to look at it.
Listen. I'm trying to get the 6 rings. Right. trying to get the 6 rings. You know. Listen, we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to cover. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to do some hot takes. So we got a couple things that we want to lay out for you guys. We're going to come up with some New Year real solutions and everything for you guys today. All right. We're also going to talk about what happened this past Monday night, or whenever you're watching this on Monday Night Football, with the young man Damar Hamlin from the Buffalo Bills. And we're also going to talk about a little bit of, Mr. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp on the comments, and how we think that we can elevate that and help you guys in your own personal walk, in your own personal life, and take this thing to another level, right? Just giving you guys a little bit of biblical perspective, personal development perspective, and then we're also going to get you guys into some comment coaching. That's right, we're going to the comments and we're going to see exactly what y'all talking about so we can help you guys lay it out for the new year. Now, some New Year real solutions, y'all, right? Now, every year we always, people always say like, new year, new me, that whole spiel. I think it's kind of dying down. People are starting to realize, you know what, let me not say the new year, new me thing. And I want to kick it off with some practical things that people can do in order to get to the next level, right? Oftentimes our audience, they struggle a lot with their faith. They struggle oftentimes with their confidence building, their self-confidence, their, having that faith over fear type of factor. I think that, one way that we can help people and help individuals from a faith standpoint, just a New Year real solution, right, is introspect, right? Just introspect, just being able to look at yourself, seeing where you're at, totally, because when you look in the mirror, like, you're the one that's seeing the truth at the end of the day. Yeah. It's not what somebody says you are, not what other people think you are. Like, who are you at the end of the day, right? So what are some things, guys, that you could think that people can really take, real introspect on themselves, real inventory of themselves to get to that next level going into 2023?
I'll say 2 things, right? I'll say 2 things.
Yeah, you got it.
One of them is to realize these resolutions are an everyday thing, not from one year to the next. Right. You should be doing these things every day. If your practice was like, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna get buff, then you should be doing it every day. You shouldn't wait till January 1st to make that decision, right? Right. So my thing is this: 2023, I will stop allowing people to steal my joy. Right?
So hold up. How many people in the comments, put that in the comments, how many people really, allow people to steal that from them throughout the year? Right. But go ahead.
Right. And I think that, again, just like I advised, right, or I recommended, it's an everyday thing. I don't have to wait till January 1st to do that, but I know 2022, I allowed that to happen a lot more than I would like.
Why do you feel like people allow it? Like, why did you allow it?
Ignoring red flags, giving people the benefit of the doubt, putting myself second or last. And so those types of things.
Major problem. Major problem.
Those types of things, don't really allow for, I would say, for like the brakes to be put on. Like, skirt, hold up, wait a minute. I'm not going to allow for this to happen anymore. You know what I mean? I think I had, even though sometimes we have to, take a step back and say, here, let me allow you to lead. Let me, the leader, at some time be a follower, right? I just want to follow. I want to see where this goes.
Right.
And in the end, I think for me, just allowing, like that word allow is a big deal in this real solution for me, right? Right. Because I have the responsibility to allow and not to allow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
I think that a lot of people have that ability but don't utilize the ability. Right? They oftentimes will say, I know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
But then their flesh does a totally different thing. Like you do the polar opposite of what you do. Why? Because like you said, giving people the benefit of the doubt, or you're a good person. Right. And oftentimes it can, shoot yourself in the foot. Mm-hmm. But the question really becomes is, how long are you willing to keep shooting yourself in the foot? How long are you willing to live in pain and live in this, these types of situations before you actually make a move? And like you said, you don't need January 1st to make that transition. Like you could do that thing on April 1st. Yes. It doesn't matter. Today. But the thing is that, are you going to have the radical discipline to actually do it?
Right. And I think it goes back to part of what God was talking about, which is it has to be an everyday thing, right? Yeah. So an example of that is you could be a good person, but if you're treating me bad in this moment, I have to engage you in the bad that you're doing. Right. I can't just say, well, you're a good person, so no. In the moment, you're doing things that are bad, because then at that point, you're making sure that every moment that somebody's engaging with you, they're not taking advantage of you, right? They're treating you the way that you want to be treated, because you can look at a situation and it's not about, well, I'm going to let this one slide. No, don't let it slide. Address it in the moment. If that person is a good person, they'll deal with it either now in the moment,
that's right,
or they'll reflect on it later and they'll come back and say, yo, you know what? I was bugging on Monday. Right. That's my bad. You know what I'm saying? But what you had to say to me, I got it, I understand. But that's you being that person every day. So that, to your point, it's not, well, January 1st, it's now my resolution. No, it's the way that you're actually trying to live your life. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So here's an exercise that people could do too. I explain this and everything on the news. Like a realistic exercise that I think people should be able to write down is like, if you take a sheet of paper, and we'll probably put the link somewhere down in the comments so you guys can go ahead and download the link for yourselves, and you guys can do this exercise. But what I came up with is, okay, let's take real goals. Okay, let's just say, like, okay, what's a realistic goal? Somebody, maybe you want to elevate your finances to another level. Let's just say like 200K is the goal and where you want to get to. You want to be making 200K, whether it's at your job or whatever it is that you do. You got to take a real introspect on where you're at right now, right? Maybe you broke as a joke. Maybe you're only making 75K a year, whatever. Write that down inside this box here, right? And you draw a line going up, and then you write down, your actual goal and where you want to achieve. But in the middle of that, right, that's where we get stuck. We always write down the vision, but we not making it plain, right? We write down the vision, but we're not sitting there saying, okay, well, what has to happen in order for me to get over that bridge? What type of support do I need in order to, cross this particular bridge, right? Because you could be walking over a burning bridge at the end of the day. So what I'm explaining to people is that create these milestones, these little steps. Before you get to 200, you got to get to 100. How you going to get there? Right? Before you get to 100, you got to get to 50K. Before you get to 50K, you got to get to 25K. So make those milestones on the by when dates on when you want to get there. Now, in terms of someone that is seeing those red flags, I think that's more of a personal thing. Where do you want to be at within yourself so that you can be aware of those particular red flags, so that you know that as soon as this red flag comes, I know I've elevated myself to a certain level that when this red flag comes, I'm going to be prepared for it and ready for it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Knowing yourself is important.
Absolutely.
I mean, one real solution I would say, right, for your real solution is whatever it is that you're saying you're going to do differently. Yeah. Don't do it. Figure out all the things that you need to do around it before you actually get to start doing it.
Come on.
Right? Because let's take everybody that wants to go to the gym. Well, there's going to the gym. Then there's all the things that you got to do. You got to wake up early, right? Practice that first. Don't even do, I got to go to the gym, because guess what? Burnout is real, right?
Yes,
burnout is real. You know what I'm saying? So instead, like, yo, let me wake up early and let me see, all right, when I wake up early, what kind of things can I do? Let me start changing my diet. Let me make sure that I'm eating the way that I need to. Let me start drinking more water. Now, if you can be consistent with those things around it, then that shows you that you can now be consistent with whatever it is that you're talking about. Because again, it goes back to an everyday lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
So be careful not to jump into something just for you to jump right back out of it. Instead, start looking at, okay, if this is what I want to do, let me do my research. Let me do my review. Let me see how interested you really are in it. So that guess what? Not on January 1st, on February 1st, you actually start doing it. Let's see how interested you are when the novelty of the new year and the newness and everything that everybody wants to do brand new wears off. Where are you then at that point? Because then you will know whether you're really serious about it or if you know what, it's just, it was a new year.
Yeah.
It was a new me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Instead, no, let's hold back on all of that and let's figure out what are all the things that I need to plan around it. Because to your point, if I want to make 100, right? I got to figure out how do I get to the stepping stones to get there. So guess what? I'm going to spend the first 30 days of the year, 25 days, 15 days, figuring out what are my stepping stones to get there rather than, oh, I got to change everything in my life now. You know what I'm saying? I got to start. No. Figure out what your plan is. Think about where you are now. Like you said, where do you want to get to and what are the steps that get you there before you start trying to actually enact all those things? Because if you don't have a plan for it, at the end of the day, it's all going to fizzle out.
Let me say this real quick. Let me say this real quick because you're absolutely right. But here's what I'm going to say. Some people may get mad, but y'all ain't going to do it, though. Some of y'all ain't going to do it. We're going to give y'all this game, and some of y'all not going to do it. Why? Because you're going to allow the distractions to come in. You're going to allow somebody to sit there and tell you no. You're going to allow somebody to sit there and say what you should do, even though what you should do is what we're actually giving you and everything at this point because it's going to help you. But some of y'all are just too lazy in order to get to that level. And I'm sorry to even put it like that, but that's the actual truth. People are lazy and they want stuff handed to them so much, right? You're going to have to put in some work in order to get to this next level and where you want to get to, because the reality is that you got a purpose in life. And your purpose in life, you know, you're going to have to put some labor into that particular purpose. Right. You got a purpose. That doesn't mean that the purpose is going to actually be fulfilled. You know, just because it's your purpose, the purpose it becomes fulfilled when you actually work for it. Yeah. Right? Now, for me, I got financial goals. So guess what I did? Guess what? I got a book. The book is What Would Rockefeller Do? Right? Why? Because there's certain people that have done it before me that have certain strategies that are still working to this day. When you got a guy that has 6 generations of finances and money and things like that laid out and he's not even here, somebody did something right. So why not, you know, adopt a couple different habits and strategies from other people? So you can sit there and say, well, Kenny said I'm not going to do it, right? Well, I'm saying that to challenge you. So prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that you are going to do it, right? And change your habits and change your ways and change how you view things and change how you see things and change how you eat eat certain things and digest certain things into your life. Because what's happening is that we digest so many horrible things that we continue and be lazy, and we say we know what we want, we won't never go after it because, like, to your point, we ain't changing the diet. We don't want to change. Like, you got to change the diet in order to do that. Well, guess what? You also got to change the diet of what you see, what you consume, right? Not just what you eat, but in all things, you got to change that diet. Yeah.
I think consistency and discipline are 2 things that are major.
Yeah.
Because those are things that we control. Those are things that we have the responsibility to see the things around us, and if it's not feeding us, it's not moving us in that direction, the consistency and the discipline has to combat those things. It has to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's why it's important to look at it as not just a micro focus on this is the thing that I want to do, but again, looking at what are the things that help me to set up to do it. Because everything that you're talking about, if it's financial goals, there's different things around you, whether it be the job that you have, what you're already spending your money on, what money you have already, what money you don't. If it's your health, what are you eating? What are you not eating? Where do you go? How do you sleep? All that kind of stuff. It's not just that one element. And sometimes when you take a more holistic approach to the things that you're talking about, it then helps you to your point that you're making. Okay, well, it's not just about how I want to better my life. It's about the kind of things that I'm pouring into myself, and it's the kind of things that I'm pouring out as well. And you have to take a look at that. So that's why you don't start the new year and just say, I'm flipping everything tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I'm starting on the 1st. I'm starting on the 3rd. I'm starting on the 5th. Instead, it's like, you know what? Let me start evaluating on the 1st. Let me start evaluating on the 5th. And let me start building a plan, and then set your target as to when are you actually going to make that shift.
Right.
Because now you've set yourself up
Yeah.
to be able to do it. You've gotten the equipment. You've gotten the books.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You've gotten the resources that you need. So you've enabled yourself. You've now put yourself in that cocoon to be able to then elevate and rise and lift
Right.
up, because
Right.
you've done all the things that you need to do to set yourself up, rather than I'm gonna turn from a caterpillar to a butterfly tomorrow. That's not happening.
Not happening.
You got to build
happening.
things around you. And then once you get to that point where you set yourself up, then you start to move forward.
Let me say this before we move on to the next topic. Focus on this hour. Right? Like, I think people just need to focus on this hour right now. I feel like people overwhelm themselves a lot, and they see exactly what they got to do. And instead of just focusing on today, just focus on this hour. Focus on this moment. Can you conquer what you need to conquer in this particular hour? I think if we simplify it and make it as small and as minute as possible, when we focus on this hour, focus on this minute, focus on this second, focus just on this, and be efficient in that, I think that is where change really starts to
Guess
come.
where it starts? Guess where it starts?
Right there.
It starts in your mind.
Yeah.
So when you change the
Mind, you change the game. You know what I'm
right?
saying?
So start there. So to your point, sit, meditate, whatever it is you want to call it. Meditate, pray, take that moment and just say, all right, let me really figure out, what is it that I want?
Yeah.
Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want to do? Take your time to figure it out. Don't, I want to do this and then get up and run. No. Think about it for a second. You know what I'm saying? I want to change my life. I want my life to be different. What about your life?
Yeah.
Who in your life? What circumstances in your life? Just think. Take a moment. Slow down. Once you start to think about all of that in this hour, in this moment, then you can start to say, okay, now do I accept it?
Yeah.
Do I accept? Because guess what? Sometimes we see things, but we don't accept
We
it.
don't accept it.
Right? Somebody's telling you, don't go that way. There's traffic. I don't believe them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know better.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Really?
And
So you
go
keep
anyway.
driving. You know what I'm saying? Rather than saying, okay, wait a minute. They're telling me there's traffic.
Yeah.
They're telling me there's a different way I got to go. How about I stop, pull over, check the GPS, do something,
Yeah.
figure out if there's a better way, rather than I'm going to keep going where I'm going. I know better. Then you hit traffic and now you're like, well, guess what? You rushed into it. You didn't take your time. You didn't map it out. So slow down.
Slow down.
Slow down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Too, look, think about how bad you want it, right? When you
Right.
thinking, think about how bad. What are you willing to sacrifice to get to this resolution, this goal that you have, right? You know, one thing I practice is this. I try to focus on the fact that I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for my kids, right? So you're bringing someone else's life as a responsibility on yourself, because if it's just for me, right? If I'm gonna go to the gym or I'm gonna chase this goal just for me, when I get lazy or I get comfortable or complacent, I'm gonna just chill and relax.
Yeah.
Hey, I might just sit back and think, like you said, but I might be thinking too long because I'm just sitting here. But if I'm doing this and the purpose, you know what I mean? I have my family in mind, and I'm doing this for the next person that needs to survive, that needs to thrive, right? Other person, that means for me, there's pressure there.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a responsibility for me to complete this mission.
Absolutely. Listen, we're going to keep it moving. I love that right there. We're going to keep it moving. Let's jump into the next topic. You know, Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, that was rough.
Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills, 24 years old, young man, playing defense for the Buffalo Bills, made a routine tackle. Now, we've all played ball, and you coach, right? You know, what was your first reaction to seeing something like that? Because you think about it, I mean, you coach the teenagers. So he's 24 years old, so he's not far off from someone that you probably would have just coached.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I think my first thought was, how serious is this? Right? Routine, you see routine things like that all the time. I mean, hey, we even see athletes do things like that and get right up from it. Right? I think as you see, ambulance, and you see, other stuff coming out on the field, stretchers, then you start to, really reflect on like the seriousness of it, right?
Yeah.
What other things outside of football is this affecting, right? His family's watching this, right? As a high school coach, I've had families have to come out on the field and, watch their son get walked off or walk their child off. I mean, it happens in college and it happens in the pros, but I think the first question for me was, all right, how serious is this? I mean, it looked pretty serious.
Yeah.
And as those things started to, you started to see different things being brought out on the field and different measures being taken, then you like, all right, this is a little bigger. This is a little bigger than football.
Right. Let me keep it real with y'all. So, Javion, he been asking me to play. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna sign you up. I'm gonna start him off with like flag football, right? Just to get used to the game. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game. I had literally just turned the game on at this time, and I'm watching the game, and I seen like maybe 1 or 2 plays, and then I seen that play, and then I'm like, oh snap, like, okay, he hurt. In my mind, I'm thinking like everybody else is thinking, he hurt, he gonna get back up. Maybe it was a concussion, maybe he pulled something, and then he took like a second commercial break. And I'm like, yo, like, what's going on? Javion's sitting watching the game with me. And we just start, and then my wife, she was watching the game as well too. We just sitting there watching and seeing like what's happening. And he's still on the ground. And they keep saying they're going back to a commercial, because ain't nobody know what to say. So as it, grew and we saw what actually had happened, Javion's sitting next to me and he's like, I don't think I want to play anymore. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I know it's like kind of like in the moment. And I want him to kind of like feel that out and think that through, because I'm not going to force him to play. Like, I'm just not. Like, if you don't want to play, then cool. I'm not going to force you to play. I love seeing my son play baseball and soccer anyway. You know what I'm saying? But he was like, I don't know. This is kind of, I like football. He's like, I like football, but that's kind of like shaky. And for an 8-year-old to sit there and see that at that moment, it really did a couple things to me. One thing it did was my son is starting to develop an opinion of his own and starting to see things from a different standpoint, like, and starting to think things through and be wise about the decisions. Maybe I don't want to play right now. His feelings may change a couple years down the line, right? But maybe right now I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. What was your thought?
Listen, I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
You ain't going to like my answer. But I was like, he be all right.
Yeah.
And the truth is, until about maybe a solid 20 minutes or so and things became clear, I was just like, he going to be all right. Like, this is football.
It's
like,
football.
This is it.
Right.
And then as it built, I had to just take a second and think to myself, I've become too desensitized.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think in society, this particular incident in and of itself showed me that, yeah, there are some things that we have all become way too desensitized to, right? And I think this dovetails into some of the things that happen on TV, some of the things that happen on social media, because people are used to when somebody gets hurt, like you were saying, right? Stretcher comes out, ambulance comes out.
Yep.
Like if an ambulance comes out
right
for someone, period, we should be concerned.
We should be concerned.
Right.
But instead, we're kind of like, all right, well, then when they're going to start things back up?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about it, we weren't at the game.
Right.
There were people at the game. People weren't getting up and saying, oh, no, this game's over. Like, this man.
No, they were sitting
there. They were there.
Yeah.
We didn't see what was going on, but they were there. And some of them saw CPR and different things like that.
Right.
They saw all these grown men out here crying and everything else like that. And I'm not saying just because they're grown men, they're not allowed to cry. But I'm saying when you see individuals crying who normally don't,
right.
You know what I'm saying, who are running into each other day after day, banging their heads against each other. And now they're used to seeing a brother hurt there, a brother hurt there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, you talk about the commentator on ESPN. He was saying like, yo, we break fingers, we break bones. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's what
but
you
in
signed up
this
for, right.
situation, they were all shocked, and you still have people sitting at the game like, all right, well, is this game going to happen? Rather than, oh no, like this game's over. You know what I'm saying? Like we're done. And it just showed me we've all become way too desensitized to the point where how many times do we see, not in a football game, in the street? Yeah. Somebody's laying on the curb and they looking like something's not right with them. Right. But we got to get the shop right. So we just keep driving. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You in the supermarket, something happens to somebody, oh man, well, I got to get to the next aisle. I got to go. Yeah. As a society, we've become so desensitized to these things that we don't stop and really say, what's happening here? Yeah. Right. Is everybody in whatever situation okay? Think about it. Car accident happens. We've seen it sometimes. Car accident happens. How many people really stop and get out there? And when somebody does stop and get out their car, what's everybody's issue? You slowing me down. Yeah. As opposed to, I'm glad somebody's making sure that these people are okay. Right. They're all right. We've become way too desensitized. And that's the thing that rung out to me right in that moment where it was just like, I gotta check myself first and foremost. Right. And really as a society, we gotta check ourselves on, not that people were wondering, all right, can the game go on? But first, was there really the true concern about how okay or not okay is this individual? Because let's say it wasn't that he needed CPR, but let's say he had a really bad concussion and people wasn't sure what was going on. Like you said, it would have been only his family rushing down to see what's going on. Yeah. Game would have went on, everything else would have went on. And then later on, people would have found out what happened to him, what's going on. Instead, we don't kind of figure out, are these individuals really okay? Right. What's going on? What's happening? Right. Before we decide we're just going to continue on with life. Right. You know what I'm saying?
So, and I think that's the thing, right? We've gotten to a point where we continue on with life. But so we don't stop life for nobody. Right. We've gotten to a point where this is just what happens. Right? But that man's life could have been done. Yep. It could have been over. They had to resuscitate him for like twice. Right? They had to do CPR. They even had to shock him, just to get him back and revive him 2 times. And it's like, when do we get to a point where we start to think and view society or be a different type of society, right? The old lady that's in the supermarket that just need help, you know what I'm saying? Trying to reach something on the top shelf. You know what I'm saying? Like I've done that plenty of times, right? Or maybe even for example, today, me and Josie was out at the supermarket. An elderly old man is driving the cart, and he comes up and he just stops. So we don't know this guy from a can of paint, but he just felt the need to stop and tell us about the different sales that's going on, because we had something of same thing that was on sale. We had the same thing. Say, do you know the price of this is really this and the third? And then he started teaching us about couponing and all these different things, but just giving them that time to get that off versus being like, yo, we gotta go. Right?
And you know the crazy thing? My wife and I, we talked about this recently, right? As a society, we really need to figure out who we are, because guess what? You can't pay somebody else a compliment nowadays without there being an issue. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, if a man pays another man a compliment, oh, well, what? Yo, do you like me?
Fam,
do you?
Fam, hold up. Yeah. Yo, I'm in Old Navy, right? Getting my kids a Christmas gift. This dude came around with blonde locks. I thought it was dope. So I turned and looked, I'm like, oh snap, yo, his locks is pretty hot. He gonna turn around and be like, yo, what you looking at, yo? I'm like, dang. Like, yo, fam, I just like your locks. I just thought
like how long you been growing your locks? You take, go get them done. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get a dope shape up. You get, listen, all the time. Like, and my wife and I, we talk about it all the time. It's like, somebody paid her a compliment and somebody was like, yo, you got to go check that dude. I'm like, why? I know my wife look good. Somebody paid her a compliment out in the street. He blessed her. He ain't come at her and he ain't call out her face. He ain't do. My wife ain't hit. So guess what?
They got good taste.
You know what I'm saying? Rather than now I got to go fight some dude because he complimented my wife who looks it. Like chill, be like, nah. So like, it's funny. I built a relationship with the lady at Dunkin' Donuts because my wife likes getting her nails done. So I recognize nails. You go to Dunkin' Donuts, they hand you stuff, their nails is in your face. She spent her time to get her nails, so I was like, yo, your nails look dope. You know what I'm saying? She was like, oh, thank you. Came back the next time, I was just like, oh, you still got the same nails? She was like, sure, I'm gonna get them done. I'm gonna get it done. She got them done the next time. She was like, yo, look at my nails. I got them done. My wife was in the car. She was like, oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to hit on your man. I was like, no, we good. She already know what it is.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. It's just like, we can't, as a society, just have friendly communication without it turning into...
And that's, but that's what we...
Like you said, knowing yourself. Got to be secure in yourself, situations like that.
Yeah, we got to be secure in ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think that the one thing that really... Let's like to bring this part home. Yeah. The one thing that I saw that was truly amazing to me, and I'm not surprised because it has happened before to this magnitude. 9/11 it happened. You know, anytime that there's some form of attack, tragedy on a country or something like that, we normally do this thing, which is pray, right? When this situation happened, though, I think the prayer amplified to another level, in my personal opinion. Because you've never seen on so many different news stations, sports, regular news, worldly news, whatever, you never seen so many people sit there and say the word pray. We're going to pray together, right? There's two things here. Number one is that I think that we have come to a point that when tragedy does strike, we all know what to do, right? We all know what to do. Even though throughout the rest of the year, you probably doing stuff that you ain't got no business doing. But when tragedy strike, you know what to do. Now imagine when there's no tragedy. What if we pray together as a nation when there is no tragedy? What if we pray together just on a regular Tuesday, on a regular day? What if we just say, you know what? Today is, and we're going to take an hour to pray for, you know, for this world, for all the things that are going on. What type of world will we live in versus just, okay, this young man, you know, is down right now. He collapsed. Like, now we all pray. You know what I'm saying? And I love the fact that we all prayed. Matter of fact, I love the fact that they even prayed on national television. I thought that was dope from Dan Orlovsky. You know, I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was dope that he prayed. But at the same time, it's like, man, how many times or how long is it going to take for us to get it?
Yeah.
That we shouldn't need a tragedy to actually pray.
Yeah, we can't wait until tragedy strikes to do it. Have to do it on a regular basis. Be disciplined in that way to be able to do it on a regular basis. It's like I tell family a lot. We end up at funerals, and you see your family and everybody together, whether you crying or, you know, you get to see them, and you're like, man, I wish it didn't take this to bring us together. Right. And so, you know, we had to we got to make sure that we don't wait until tragedy strikes to do something about it.
And I think that if we take the initiative to do it daily, right? Condition ourselves. We've conditioned ourselves to be desensitized to all these different things. Yeah. But what if we condition ourselves to actually pray? Yeah. What if we condition ourselves to communicate? What if we condition ourselves to say, hey, yo, you good? You all right? You straight? Just making sure. You know what I mean? I'm not saying OD and be, you know, and overdo it. But like, be more aware of your brother that's down the street. Be more aware of, listen, my boys make sure that Miss Marianne's trash cans are taken back every Thursday night. They make sure that she got her trash cans back. Why? Because she's an elderly lady. So I've taught my boys to, yo, make sure Miss Marianne ain't got to come out at night to make sure that, you know, to take her stuff to the curb. You know what I'm saying? You never know who's outside. So bring that back out. And bring that back up. And for that, and, you know, when it snow, yo, my boys got you. They young bucks. You know what I'm saying? But just doing those things, it's like we live in a world where it is, you know, every man, every woman for themselves. And that right there was a moment where, okay, at that moment, we are all praying. But here's what we have to capitalize. We got to capitalize on that moment because the excitement is going to come down. The doctors already said that, hey, he's being responsive right now. He's actually communicating and writing right now. You know what I'm saying? So and he's making a remarkable recovery within a matter of 3 days. And we know what the word 3 days, what 3 mean. You know what I mean? We got to slip that Bible in there real quick. But it's like, yo, can we get to this certain point in 2023?
I mean, I think we can, right? I just think, unfortunately, the human society always leans on tragedy to help get us right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We have to work on, as you're talking about, getting to the point, right, where we can do the things that we need to do without tragedy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Family barbecue. Make it important to go see your family. Don't
important.
say, it's not that big a deal.
Right.
But then you find out that Uncle Johnny died, and now you like,
Now
I got
it's
to buy a
big
Bliss
deal.
plane ticket. I got to do that. He gone. You can't do nothing about the fact that he's gone. But when he was alive, when's the last time you gave him a phone call? When's the last time you paid him a visit? And I think we have to get to the point where we start maximizing on the opportunities that are available to us. To your point, right?
Yeah.
It's good that everybody's praying because this young man needs prayer. The truth is, what that points to is everybody knows where they need to go when they really need things to get done.
Right.
What we need to figure out is how much do we really care about things being better, right? Because I was talking to somebody the other day and they were talking about how, you know, society, news, and all these other, like, they feel sorry for the kids because everything's going down the tubes and, you know, all these negative things. And I was just like, well, listen, part of that is our own fault. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We would rather watch negativity than watch positivity. When you think about it, NFL players, basketball players, baseball players, they do so many different things to help people in the community when they start making it. This young man that we're talking about, all he was trying to do was raise $2,500
For a toy drive.
$2,500. How many people cared about that?
Right.
But it takes for him to go into a cardiac situation for people to then contribute to the point where it's over 7 million.
Crazy.
2,500 to over 7 million. Like, and again, maybe I'm wrong about the numbers. I heard it was in the millions, but I'm not tracking it.
Yeah.
Right. But why did it take that rather than just his simple plea initially to say, I'm trying to help this toy drive, and people just decide, you know what? I got a little something that I could spare.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It took for him to practically lose his life for people to care about this mission that he was doing to help other people. We got to do better as a society. And this shows that we can. So to me, it gives me a little bit like there is hope. It's not like we're completely lost. There is hope. Unfortunately, we got to learn how to tap into that before tragedy strikes.
So in other words, you do have it in you to pray. You do have it in you to be a good person. You do have it in you to be a good Samaritan. You do have it in you to have a better society. We do have it in us.
Yeah.
Right? But how, like, it's we got to do it. We got to practice this thing daily. Now, I get it, though. I get it. Life happens.
Right.
Things happen. I understand. But that's why we have to stick together.
Yeah.
Because when those things happen, you got a village to fall back on that's going to have your back no matter what.
Yep.
And we've all been there collectively together where, hey, listen, yo, I'm going to need y'all for this moment. This is what's going down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And having each other's back.
Yeah.
And it not be an issue.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the society, and I'm not saying that we're not the only ones that do this, but I'm just saying collectively, generally, like, yo, let's get this thing together.
Yeah. And we could do it.
We could do
it. It's there. You know what I'm saying? So
I think it's a process too, right? I think we can't be afraid of the process. Like you said earlier, we have goals, we set the goal, but you don't forget what it's going to take to get there. You have to take those steps, right? So I think foundationally as a society, we have to learn things, but ultimately the first step is to unlearn a lot of what we've gone through in life to get us to where we are. Where the guy goes, what are you looking at? To where the person goes, get out of my face. Or you have to unlearn a lot of what we've come up through, a lot of what we went through, a lot of positions that we put ourselves in.
Yeah.
To then get to the point where, okay, now I know enough about myself. I'm prepared through the process to learn these other things to get there, right?
Absolutely.
To be more sensitive, to be more empathetic, to be more sympathetic, to know the difference between the two.
Right.
Now, we talk about empathy, sympathy, and things of that nature, right? And let me just switch gears a little bit here, you know. the other thing that's in the news is, and that's taking headlines is, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. And we normally don't talk about these types of things, on our show, but I thought it was like kind of important to address, because I think that there's a valuable lesson that people need to learn inside this. Now, for context, so that people can understand exactly what was said, particularly by Skip. He said in his tweet, and I quote, "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? Question mark. This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant." Now, that one tweet alone has well over probably 40 million, views at this point. So it went super, super viral.
Yeah.
Skip has been in the news with Shannon because of their back and forth on on the show. Now, mind you, that's what they're supposed to do for a living, right? Like, they fight every single day for a living, but I think that it's been escalated to a certain standpoint where your working partner now is, offended by certain things that you may say, right? The next day, the next time Shannon came back on the show, which I believe was yesterday, he came back and he said what he was saying because he played in the NFL, so he was giving his take and his thoughts on it. And in the middle of him saying this, he also mentioned that, Skip put up a tweet. I would hope that he would take it down, even though I disagree. And then Skip abruptly interrupted him in his opening monologue and said, "Well, I'm not taking it down. I'm not taking it down, and I stand by what I said strongly." And Shannon was like, Skip, and they start going back and forth. He said, "Skip, you can't even let me get through a whole monologue, my opening monologue, without you interrupting what I was going to say." I believe Shannon was going to bring it home, not in a way to bash Skip or anything like that, but it just goes to show, like, how, like, triggered people can actually be and not allow someone else to get out their opinion, right? Now, all of us, we 90% of the time probably agree on this show for the most part, but there are times where we may disagree, right? But it's not to the point where we're up in arms and cutting each other off and, "Oh, you tripping," and this, that, and the third. But, we talked a little bit about what he said before the show. And, when I first seen it, I was like, I think that it's bad timing to say it.
Yeah.
To say anything about the game. I thought it was bad timing. That's just me, right? So I thought that if you were going to say anything, just leave it about the man. Not saying that you can't say that, Skip. Yeah. I just thought that maybe you would have left that for the next day, as most people probably did. Skip dove straight into the water.
I mean, I think that speaks to not processing, right?
Right.
Jumping to a conclusion from the very beginning, right? Let it be known that tweet went out. What did you say earlier? A half hour after this happened.
Mind you, Skip ain't the most liked in the world.
Right.
Either, right.
But this is still not even 30 minutes. Probably wasn't even the height of all this happened. It was 30 minutes after. Being real quick to speak. It really kind of kicks us in the tail sometimes, right? Yeah. Especially next day, monologue happening. Shannon saying something, and again, he's quick to speak, right? And the word says be slow to speak and quick to listen. So I think being more of a listener would be beneficial, but that's his character.
Absolutely.
His character.
I mean, I think, like I said, I think it's tough because if you dissect what it is that he said, right? He was like, no doubt the NFL is going to cancel this, right? But the truth is, there is a side of this that people got to deal with, which is the NFL does need to figure out, because prior to this game, it was almost like this was an extremely important game. It had so many variables, and people gamble on this stuff, right? People win life savings and lose life savings off of games and different things like this, seeding and all this. And the truth is, some people elevated this over things that they needed to do. There are some people who just told their kids, "Don't bother me right now. Like, I gotta watch this game." You know what I'm saying? There are people who flew down and spent money and all that other kind of stuff, right? Rather than saving money and figuring out how they're gonna take their kids. No, we go into this game. So yes, to Skip's point, this game was at a certain level, right? But he also said, right, that all of that that came with this game seems what? Completely irrelevant right now. So why are people mad? What should he have waited? He's right. The NFL is going to suspend this.
Right.
But he's also pointing out the NFL's got to figure out what's going to happen. But whatever it is that they need to do, and however important all of that was, it's not important in this moment right now.
Right.
But let's not act like Skip was the only one that was thinking it.
Right.
Now, you don't say everything that you think.
Right.
I got it. I understand that. But at the same token, people are attacking him for what? It wasn't like he said he hopes that this young man doesn't make it out. He didn't say, I hope this is done so we can just kind of get back to the game. I mean, this is not that big a deal. But he was bringing out a point. Now, why did he bring it out at the time that he brought it out? Skip's got to answer that question. You know what I'm saying?
That, right.
I can't say. But again, let's not blow it up. Again, get to the point where we want to be toxic about it over something that, what did Skip say that really needs to be attacked and addressed?
Here's the thing. I feel that Skip has had his enemies throughout the years, that he's built a personal stock of hatred for the things that come out of his mouth, right? Because he is a genius at triggering people. He's a genius at making other people mad. Like if you look at the show, Skip and Shannon, and you were saying earlier, you know, like you got the villain and you got the hero. Shannon right now is the hero, and nobody likes the villain, which is Skip, because Skip oftentimes, you always got something to say. Now this is not discrediting Skip's journalism. Like you're a master at being a journalist. That's what you do, right? I think that a lot of people just get upset when Skip formulates an opinion on sports that he wasn't really necessarily a master at or played, you know, to a high level. But then you pretty much downgrade people that are at the highest level, and they get paid to be at the highest level, like the Lil Bricks or Westbrick and stuff like that. You create these names for people. It's one thing to critique a man or a woman about what they do, but then to sit there and put the fire on that for shock value, you know, is another thing. So I think that all of that, with Skip saying what he said, people just really wasn't Skip. We don't want to hear you right now.
Right, and that's and I think that's the key to it, right? And again, to bring it to our audience. So what can you take away from it?
Right.
I think what you can take away from it is be careful the kind of character that you build, right? Be careful the kind of person that you project yourself to be, because in a moment where you may be saying something that doesn't need to be attacked, because you have become this controversial person, because you've put yourself in that place. Now, when you do have something to say, whether it should be, you know, viewed in a controversial way or not, the point is, if there's any element of it that could be controversial, people are going to latch onto that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because take that whole thing and let's say, yeah, it was somebody who was beloved like Shannon and he said it. People would say, yeah, you know what, Shannon's right. Like there is some kind of aspect of the game.
Because of the type of stuff that he's built up.
Because now people look at Shannon like, well, Shannon's not a person who's divisive or whatever, you know. So I think there is something to that where if you want to look at how people look at you, right? If you want to figure out why maybe some people engage you in the ways in which they do, sometimes, not always, but sometimes you got to take a look at what are you projecting out? Because if that's how you have been behaving over time and you've been projecting that out, well, then it's almost like people are looking for and expecting you to come across in a negative way or an incorrect way or something like that, that then they're going to latch onto. And then you're just kind of like, wait a minute, why is everybody coming at me? Because that's how you position yourself.
You position yourself.
You know?
And go ahead. And to his credit, right? And to his credit, nobody knows his intent, right? Everybody knows what was said. Everybody is going to dissect the words. But he may have an intent to, I was trying to be empathetic in the first part of what I said and then follow it with what needs to be done, right? So I played both sides, right? But I think impulsivity, right? When you're impulsive in what you say, you may not, your intent, your clear intent may not come all the way through.
Right? It may not. And I think that the valuable lesson that we got to learn here as we close out is that we have a responsibility to how we project ourselves to the world and what we want people to really view and what we want people to really see about us. Now, if you want to continue the negative apple, then guess what? Expect the negativity to come back to you.
Right.
If you want the the positive apple to come, then guess what? You're going to get some more positivity to flow back to you. So the second that if you're a negative person most times, then you can expect that the time that you are positive, the time that you are saying something, ain't nobody trying to hear you because you've already desensitized them to what it is that who you are, and that's just how it is. Versus you being somebody who is more positive, like and even if I was to say something, like I'm a extremely positive person, all the time, right? For the most part. And if I say something that is in a negative way, people can kind of gauge on where I'm coming from on why I'm saying it. Not to be negative, just like earlier in the cast where I said that some people may not like this, but y'all not gonna do this, right? But that's just me trying to trigger you, amp you up to get you to a certain level so that you actually do it.
Right.
That's not me being insensitive or nothing like that. That right there, I built up a stock of positivity. Like, you know what? I may want to listen to this guy right now because of the type of value that he's bringing, the type of value that she's bringing. So I think that is a really, really good point, y'all, that we've got to understand on how we want to be portrayed in this world. And with that, understand what type of smoke comes with that if you want to, go that route. Now, Skip may be cool with all the smoke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that come with some consequences at the end of the day because not everybody, nobody's invincible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'll say this, honestly, Skips comes across like, yo, I'm good, I'll deal with it.
I'll deal with it.
And so I just think for you as an individual, if you really, really want to deal with that, then cool. But if not, and you want people to look at you differently, behave differently. That's just that.
That's just that. Listen, y'all, go ahead. You want to say one thing?
You are your own brand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You are your own brand. So whatever you put out there, that's what's going to come back.
That's what's going to come back. That's what's going to come back. Listen, y'all, this is an awesome conversation. This is the first episode of the year. I think this is episode 99. We are on the way to episode 100 is coming up.
100.
So we probably going to do something special for episode number 100 that's coming up on the Unshakeable podcast with Kenny, Nick, and Guy. Listen, guys, you guys can check this out on, on anywhere it is to listen to a podcast. But if you want the visuals, you know what you got to do. You got to subscribe right here to the channel. Always make sure you subscribe, like, comment. It really does help us out, helps the channel grow and get this out to the world, So listen, when we change the mind, y'all, we change the game. Share this with your mama, your daddy, your uncle, your auntie, your grandma, your grandpa, abuela, abuelo. Share with everybody that needs to hear this message today because this one was a home run hitter. All right. That being said, listen, yesterday is gone. Tomorrow worry about itself. Today is all we got. And today is all we got. You make sure you impact today the best way you know how. All right. For myself, Nick, and Guy. All right. We check y'all later.